Hey there, welcome back to another Wisdom Gifts Book 2 podcast interview with Olalah Njenga. Enjoy. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share some time with you, Kim.
Oh, yay. So we have a lot in common, one of them being we both love purple.
Yes.
We also both love a particular city in North Carolina. And during our time getting to know each other, we found out that you actually live like around the corner from my mom. So that is just delicious.
There you go.
There you go. So let's talk to you about, you have this wonderful world as an entrepreneur and as a thought leader, like I said. And one of the things that you love to talk about is that entrepreneurship is not as glamorous as we think it is. So you can tell us a little bit about your journey to entrepreneurship and then why it's not the pretty picture that we know it to, we think it to be.
Yeah, I appreciate the question because I do think that there can be glamorous moments, but there's a lot of hard work, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of crazy that happens in the background. And so it's not this very poetic, flowery journey that we like to see in a TikTok or something like that. But for me, it was like quite the opposite. I'm very much the accidental entrepreneur. I lost my job. A company relocated me and I got drop shipped in the middle of what I like to call nowhere, North Carolina. And I'm a Black woman divorced with 2 small children. And I was part of the company's first ever layoff. Wow. And so it was just not even a thought of what is entrepreneurship. And as part of the outplacement, they send me over to the center and someone summons me to the back when they start rattling off all this information about my assessments point to this and this. When you have no job, it's just yada, yada, yada. You're hearing this, you're like, hello, where's the job? And then they tell me there's no job for you. And I remember just going like completely black. I don't remember anything else after that. At that point, I've been working for more than 14 years. And so you can imagine when someone tells you there's no job for you, you're just like, what? But it turns out they were right. I'm unemployable, apparently.
And what's interesting about that is that in that moment, you went through what you went through, but you can look back now and go, I really am unemployable because I have all these incredible gifts. As you all know, the book is called Wisdom Gifts. And I really encourage people to find their gifts. And you found your gifts along the way and explored them beautifully. And we know it's not pretty, but you did it. And so what sparked for you that said, I am unemployable, so I'm just going to do it myself? What was the moment?
So it wasn't one particular moment as much as it was a lot of little moments that kept me from looking for a job. Quite frankly, I wish it was prettier than that. It's just not. I picked up a freelance project. A colleague said, hey, these folks are looking for some help. And I took one project and another project. And then I decided to go back to school. I thought I was going to take the tech route because I had been laid off from a big tech company that's global. And most of my background was big companies, global companies. And I just, it was what we call today a side hustle, right? So you have to imagine this is 24 years ago. And so this was very much frowned on. Oh, what do you mean you're a freelancer? And so I'm not going to say I didn't take it seriously. I just didn't think it could be something other than stopgap while I was looking for a job. And then one day I was 6 months out of the workforce. And then I hit that dreaded year. And you know what it was like back in the day. Nobody has a year gap on their resume unless you've been like committed to some quiet asylum somewhere. You don't get to take a gap year when you're in your 30s and you're divorced with kids. Like that just doesn't happen.
So here you are in the gap. In space and still figuring it out. What do you think kept you going, other than you have 2 little mouths to feed and your own well-being to care for? What do you think kept you going?
There's a lot of autonomy, right? So when I was doing the freelance work, I really found how much I enjoyed the autonomy of what's the deadline? Okay, give me the deadline and I'll work. around it. And so that's very different than being in the traditional workforce where, yeah, you have a deadline, but there's the get up, take a shower, brush your teeth, go to work. Get up, take a shower, brush your teeth. And so I could roll out of bed and put my hair in a ponytail with a cup of coffee and work in my pajamas and be like, oh, it's 9:30. Or take my kids to school, like in my nightgown and my fluffy sneakers. And it was so different. It was very liberating to manage my own energy and
Mm-hmm.
not just my own time. And then that concept of managing my energy would ultimately be the thing that I would be exposed to as serendipitously going to improvisation camp to help me figure out what is this whole energy thing? Like, why do some things really excite me and illuminate me, and other things just make me want to rip my own eyebrows out? And so it was a personal journey, a money journey, a business journey. It was a whole lot of journeys happening, Kim. Just
So wait a minute, I heard something really cool in there. And as a performer, I always get so excited when I hear that people have delved into the world of improvisation. So
yeah.
what's this journey that you took as an improvisational performer, and how did
Ooh.
it help you as an entrepreneur?
I refer to myself as like the high functioning introvert, which really amuses people and they ask me all kinds of questions about it. But I learned in those first couple of years of running my business that I noticed it took a lot of energy from
Mhm.
me, that I wasn't always excited. And so I would hear people talk about, aren't you so excited about this and that? And I would think, yeah, no, not so much. And so it just so happens that a great friend of mine who's a professional speaker, who's also a magician, took me to this camp, this comedy works, who introduced me to a comedian. And I would find out two really important things about myself. The first is that introverts have this amazing ability to manage their energy under the right circumstances. So that would be number one. And I thought, that's pretty cool. And then number two is you would learn how to be in character and how to commit to a scene. And once I learned how to do that, then I felt invincible because I could choose to be in a scene that maybe didn't excite me. But as long as I stayed in character and kind
Mm.
of got that mindset of like, you've got to nail this, Olalah. Like, nobody cares that this is not your best moment or whatever. It completely changed my whole life. And so it was the best 6 weeks of my life. And so now I'm always in character, which I don't know, much to the chagrin of my family and friends. Like,
So this is a great tool, and I think it's a tool that people wouldn't think about as a
yeah,
beautiful tool in your tool belt as a
yeah.
woman, as an entrepreneur, as a business maven, which we're going to talk, and as also as someone who's a champion for others, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. And I just remembered that's another thing that we have in common. I'm also an introvert, and I must be high functioning because I do what I do. And I didn't think about the fact that we put on a character in order to get through a moment, and then we go home and go close the blinds. I only be around people that I love and know about yourself. But I think that's
Yeah.
the key here is you got to know yourself, right?
Yes. Know
Yeah.
yourself and don't beat yourself up about like trying to compare your entrepreneurial path to another person's entrepreneurial path and then looking at how you navigate something and you look at someone else and you think what something must be wrong because I'm not getting fulfillment out of something in the way someone else is.
Right.
That's probably the worst thing you can do, especially as an entrepreneur. And for me, the other thing is that I'm short. Like people always tell me, I don't know, maybe it's my name, right? When your name is Olalah Njenga, I don't know. People always expect me to be like 5'11", and then they meet me and I'm 5'3", and they're like, when you're 5'3" and you've got a name like that and you're an introvert, it's a lot to carry.
Mm.
And so the improvisation also helped me get really comfortable with the things about myself that used to make me uncomfortable.
Mm.
And so that was just like, it was really life changing for me. I had no idea that the path of entrepreneurship would actually end up amplifying some of the best parts of my life. And so I feel like it's made me a better business leader. It's made me a better steward of my community. It's made me a better parent. It's made me a better friend. It's made me much more empathetic. I don't know, my husband might argue, I'm not sure if it's made me a better wife or not, but I'm a lot more fun and there's a lot more dancing, like random acts of dancing. I don't know if he appreciates that, but I appreciate it.
long as you appreciate that, then maybe he
Because
can
I
that
appreciate
too.
it. That's what matters.
So talk about things that we appreciate and things that I appreciate about you. And I'm going to speak to the stewardship and
Yeah.
speak to you becoming an avid advocate
Yeah.
for small business owners and for entrepreneurs. And let's talk a little bit about that journey and where that has landed you.
Wow. Yeah, that might be kind of controversial for me, Kim. I do speak to it in my contribution for the book and like how it happened. But I am like the least likely person to be an advocate. I was not a political person, didn't really have any hopes and dreams or aspects of it. I just had my head down. And then a little tiny thing called the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act happened. And kind of like I had this divergence. There was how it affected me as a small business owner. And as much as it was groundbreaking legislation, when it first rolled out, you know, what a lot of people don't remember is there were some mandates that were attached to it. There were a lot of constrictions that made it challenging for those of us who had really micro businesses. And so what I mean by that is in general, okay, the SBA says a small business is 500 employees or more, but really kind of colloquially, we say it's 100 or less is really small. But if you've got less than 25 people, you are really feeling some of those mandates. And as people were asking me, oh, please explain this and please explain that, I kind of became this like accidental advocate. And then I got hit with one of the mandates and I thought, oh no, someone trying to take food off my table, money out of my pocket. Oh, this is not happening. Like, I'm just like, you don't know me. I'm from Chicago. Don't make me take my earrings out. And so now I'm just mad, right? so, and so I just started dialing. I started calling my senator's offices, speaking to my local Congress people, and really asking the questions like, did anybody think through how this was going to affect the average small business? And that was the beginning of quite a journey. That landed me in some hot water, but you know, again, improvisation saved the day. Humor will help you solve a lot of problems.
It's true. Trust me, I know. Well, but thank you for that because it is good to have a well-rounded perspective of everything. And although it may have landed in some hot water, and I'm sorry about that. And
Yeah.
although there's some people who are, what's going on here? I think it is important to look at all sides of an issue. And the fact that you say it was accidental and you landed, but you landed on your feet
Yeah.
and you took up the mantle and or took up the cause. And that's I think that matters. I think that really matters,
Thank
right?
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
someone has to, right? Like we can't just keep our head down and nose to the grindstone. There's a lot of policies that affect our ability to make money and more importantly, our ability to keep it. And so paying attention just became the thing for me. And whew, now I'm 13 years in. So being the small business advocate. So there you go.
How you said something really powerful there, paying attention. How else would you say that paying attention has served you, and how can paying attention serve the rest of us as entrepreneurs and as business owners?
Yeah. It's you really don't have any excuses anymore because see back in the day you had to know people and figure things out but now there's so much information that is fingertip ready that you don't really get to stay unknowing about something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I would say pick your lane. So you don't have to know everything about everything, but know what you love and what you like and what causes interest for you and then just bird dog that thing. So for me, it's workforce. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I am just like in my mind, I want every small business owner to be a small business employer. Because the truth of the matter is that the folks on Capitol Hill only pay attention to you when you have an employee. I don't know what it is. There's a mindset, if you will. It's like, hey, do you have an employee? Yes, I'll talk to you for 5 minutes. You know, if it's just you, it just you get relegated like to the back of the line, and that's a story for another day. So I picked workforce. Someone else might pick energy or something like that. So find the thing, the space that interests you, that causes your heart to sing, that makes you want to raise your eyebrow, right? And then just go deep on your one thing, and then scream it from the rooftops and talk about it in a conversational way. In my life, everything comes down to a sandwich and a Pepsi. Okay. I'm just so serious. And it's like, If you can't have a conversation with someone about a topic in that very pedestrian, easy conversational way, find something else to talk about. Because as small business owners, we don't want to hear that nyah, nyah, nyah. Don't give us all that legalese. Just give us plain English, because we've got to run our businesses. We have to take care of our families. We have to take care of our employees. And then you become so much more interesting when you have something else to talk about other than your business. Like, it's like the last thing I want to talk about is my business. Like,
meanwhile, I'm making you talk about it right now. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
What would you say is maybe a piece of advice that you would have given your younger self?
Ooh. So yeah, this one's kind of delicious, because the thing that I think if there's any regret that I have, is that we all have an additional gift. I feel like our creator has given us a sixth sense, and it manifests differently for everyone. And so the advice I would have given myself is, when your spidey sense goes off, Olalah, don't require proof. And so there were many times where my intuition said no, and that thing came up in me, right? If you're a Myers-Briggs person, I'm an INTJ. So everything is about, is there a fact to back that up? And so because of that, I would do that to my own self. So I would almost require this proof of, well, Olalah, if you're going to say no, then you need to have a why. You need a rationale. You need to prove that it should be a no. And I would later pay a price for not going with my intuition first. Sometimes it was mental space, but sometimes it was in my pocket. Like, there's some decisions like, hey, Olalah, if you had checked yourself at the first flag instead of the fourth flag, girl, you'd have kept your money in your pocket. And so I'm like, so not requiring myself to prove to myself that it's okay to take my own intuition. Yeah, wish someone had told me.
So how can we trust our intuition more then? How can with those of us who need a little bit of proof, how can we just
I think when it comes up, that's that tap, right? That our creator is saying, hey, pay attention. Yeah, I love the phrase my Spanish teacher taught me in high school. It's cuidado, which is Spanish for, cuidado, which is Spanish for caution, right? And it's so when that thing comes up and it's like, do you hear a cuidado in the background? Just pause and ask yourself, do I really need proof? Or do I know deep within me, I should say yes less? You know what I mean? Maybe you don't like the word no, so I say, well, say yes a little less. And so, I'm trying to be a positive, declarative person. So I'm like,
which is an improv trick. Everything is and yes, and.
You know my secrets. I'm like,
so I love this. What have we learned? Cuidado, which actually I thought that igualmente was my favorite Spanish word. Cuidado. Okay. Hold on just a minute. Okay. And to say yes, say no. What does it say?
Yes. Yes, a little less.
Say yes, a little less. And just trust the knowing.
Yeah, trust the knowing. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to trust that we now know a lot more about Olalah Njenga, and that we are grateful. And by the way, her chapter is it's really great, because you're so descriptive and you take us on this journey really of you discovering yourself and discovering your gifts, and you're funny along the way. And I just appreciate your vulnerability and your generosity. So that's what I would say. Thank you, Olalah, for saying yes to being in Wisdom Gifts, for saying yes to your journey, and for saying yes to you said yes. You say yes a little less to some things, but I'm glad you said yes to this.
I said yes to, so thank you.
Yay. Wasn't that great? Thank you so much for tuning into the Wisdom Gifts podcast. I love doing these. I love these amazing authors, and stay tuned for the next one. It's going to get good and gooder.